Hello and welcome back to HT Youth Connect. It is good to have you with us. It is our second to last week of term. You guys, it's nearly officially the summer, apparently, although it's been raining all of this week, but the summer is apparently nearly here. And to let you know what is going on at HT over the summer, I'm going to hand you over to the Summer News Guy. Summer News Guy is too relaxed. Let's try again. I'm going to hand you over to the Summer News Guy.
What? Oh, hey! HT Youth!
It's time to tell you about some summer news. The first thing you need to put in your calendar is Summer Party! Sunday the 19th of July. We're going to be totally chilling together. We're going to say farewell to our year 13s and our leaders who are leaving. We're going to have some fun. Sunday 19th of July. Summer party. Back to you on the sofa. Thank you. So, hang on, there was definitely one more notice. Back to the Summer News Guy. Wake up, Summer News Guy.
What? Oh yeah! There was one more thing! Summer Spaces! We're gonna transform the HT Youth Connect webpage and make it totally cool for summer! There are gonna be all kinds of ways you guys can engage with God, spend some blissful time chilling out in the presence of the Lord. There are gonna be ways you can read your Bible, ways you can pray, things you can watch, ways you can engage with God even when we're not meeting as HT Youth. That Summer Spaces coming soon on the HT Youth website. Peace out.
Wow. Anyway, question for you as we kick off today's last episode in the Origins and Endings series. What would be your best day ever? What would be your best day ever? We asked a bunch of you this question on Instagram this week, and we got a range of different things. We got time with family and friends. We got quite a lot of stuff about beaches and sun and things like that. I guess because, you know, the weather's a bit naff, we need to escape and be somewhere warm. We had one about performing on stage. We had all kinds of stuff. We had some stuff about the youth weekend away, which warmed my heart. But what would be your best day ever? What would it involve? This is our last week in our Origins and Endings series. We explored the origin story of the Bible in Genesis, right at the start. We've been looking at what the Bible says about what's going to happen at the end. We started off by thinking about Jesus' return, and then we thought about how actually it's not the end, it's a restart, a recreation that the Bible talks about. But here's something that's hard. Sometimes when we think about the ending story of the Bible, it just seems not real. One of you this week said something which is actually really profound about this. Sometimes the new creation, this idea the Bible has about the end of all things, it seems like a good alternative to death, right? Like to death just being the end. But it doesn't always seem like a good alternative to life. Like life right now, the life we're living is so much easier to hold onto, to imagine, to understand. And then all this stuff about the end, it's kind of hard to imagine and hard to kind of grasp hold of. So today we're going to talk about the reality of the ending story. What is it really going to be like? And also, what does it tell us about our lives now? So we're going to do two things. Firstly, we're going to think about life now and ask, what does life now tell us about what life will be like in the new creation? And then we're going to think about the new creation and ask, what does that tell us about our lives now? So the first thing, what does life now tell us about what life will be like then? I think this bit is actually quite simple. James, one of Jesus' first followers and first friends, he wrote this: every good and perfect gift comes from God. Every good and perfect gift. So however you answered that question of your best day ever, the best things about that day, all the good things in it, they come from God. And so being in a world that God has made perfect is being in a world full of those good things. I really like the way C.S. Lewis puts it in his book Mere Christianity. He talks about how there are two reasons why we find it hard to want this new creation life with God. The first reason is that our lives and our education trains us to focus so much on this world. We're just completely focused on the world around us, and we don't really ever think about the fact that we're going to die, because who wants to think about that? So we just focus on the world we have right now, and we don't ever think about it. But the second reason is really interesting. C.S. Lewis says, we actually all have the longing for heaven inside us. We just don't realise it. He's like, we have these longings for like amazing friendships, for like great times with people. Quite a lot of your best day ever ideas were about that. We have these longings for being loved and success and doing things well. We have this longing to be like really alive and healthy, and all of these longings that we have. And sometimes we see them realised a little bit in our lives. You know, you have that incredible day with one of your mates, or you know, it's your birthday and it goes really well, or you wake up one morning and you're just refreshed and you feel alive. We have moments like this, but even the very best ones, Lewis says, even the very best ones, they don't last. You know, either they end, or the friendship is great, but then another day you have an argument, or you do really well at something and then another time you get it wrong. These things, they don't last, they're moments, and we long for more of them. But Lewis would say that's because actually we are longing, there's something inside us that longs for a place like Revelation 21 talks about, where there is no more suffering, no more sickness, no more pain, no more crying, because the old order of things has passed away and the new order has come. In Hebrews 4, the new creation is talked about as a place of God's rest, a day where every day you wake up refreshed and alive because it is a place full of God's rest. In Psalm 16, the writer of Psalm 16 talks about the eternal pleasures and the joy that it will be to be in God's presence. And so I think if we want to imagine the reality of heaven, we can just think about the best things we have now. The best days we experience, the best feelings we know, the ones that are good. And we can just times them by 1,000,000 times in terms of how good they are, and we can times them by 1,000,000 years. To imagine the reality of heaven, think about the best things in this life. And think about a world that is full of them, untainted, perfect. That's the promise. And that, it blows my mind. And yes, it blows our mind. But sometimes having those reference points to imagine it, they help us to expect and to hope. And that's the thing, this is about hope. It's funny, one of the other things about the new creation is that we in our culture don't talk about it very much. And it's probably partly because we have such good lives lots of the time. You know, we don't necessarily always imagine a world where there's no sickness if we are already healthy and we have an amazing healthcare system. And I know that's not true for all of us, but sometimes for some of us it is true. But in lots of Christian cultures, especially where Christians are persecuted or where life is hard, they talk about this all the time. Because it is a great hope to trust in Jesus, to know that when life is hard, when things suck, when it's difficult to be a Christian, there is this hope of this day, of this place, of an inheritance that can't be spoiled with Jesus in the future. So that's, I think, what we can learn about life then from life now. But what can we learn about life now from life then? There's this one time when Jesus is talking to a rich bloke back in the day. And this guy has like done all the right stuff. He's like ticked all the boxes of being a religious good guy. And Jesus is like, actually, there's one more thing you need to do. You need to go and sell what you have and give it away. And the guy's like, that's a big ask. And he goes away. And then Jesus is chatting to his disciples and he's like, guys, it's really hard for people who are rich to enter the kingdom of God. And I guess he said that because if we're rich, we hold on to stuff and we find it hard to let go and hold on to God instead. Jesus is saying this and the disciples are like, but we've given up loads for you, Jesus. We've given up almost everything. And Jesus says, yeah. And you know what? At the end, when the Son of Man comes in glory, you won't fail to receive all of these things. Basically, you will be rewarded in the new creation. There is this promise in the Bible of a reward to come in that life in the new creation. You can think about it in terms of compound interest. I'm really going to lose some of you right now, but this is cool. Okay, listen to this quick math. If you have 1p and you put it in a savings account at like a standard rate right now of like 1%, right? Interest. You put it in a savings account, after 80 years, how much do you have? 2p, okay? 2p, not very much. After 1,000 years, how much do you have? You have about £210. Still not very much. But after 1,000,000 years, you have more money than atoms in the universe. Okay? After 1,000,000 years, if you put 1p in a bank account, you have, according to Google, infinite money. That's what the calculator says in Google when you plug that sum in. And I think that's a bit like how rewards in heaven work. We plant tiny seeds in this life by the good things that we do for God, the good things that we give up for Him, the times that we love sacrificially for other people. We plant these seeds and we don't always get to see them grow. We don't always get to see the fruit of the things that we've done well in this life. But it's like this interest. When we plant it in the ground, on that day when we rise with Jesus and we're with Him forever, we will see these things. We will see the full result and reward of them. I remember when I was a kid, one of my dad's friends came up to me and said, "Do you know what rewards in heaven mean?" And I was like, "No, because I'm only young." And he said to me, imagine all the people that you've ever helped, all the people who have seen God through you, all the people that might have got to know Jesus better because of you, because of the way you lived or what you said. Imagine all of them gathered around you and thanking you. He said, maybe that's a bit like what the rewards in heaven will be. And I think that's what that life then tells us about our life now. It tells us that the little sacrifices, the little ways we can do good, the little ways we can love are always gonna be worth it. They will always be worth it. It will always be worth it. The tiny seeds that we sow will grow into enormous trees. The tiny amounts that we invest will grow into huge rewards. That's Jesus' promise to you and me and all of us. One time he says this to the people around him: if you even give one of the least of these people a cup of water, it's like you're giving it to me. And Jesus says, and you'll be welcomed into this new creation life. So life now can teach us about the reality of the joy that's to come. And the rewards of that life can teach us about how to live now. But one of the other ways that we can think about the reality of this new life is by just talking to each other, asking people, hey, what difference does it make to believe in this ending story of the Bible? What difference does it make to your life now? So that's what I did. I interviewed Ed and Josie this week from the HT Youth team. So we're going to go now to those interviews. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Steve. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It looks very sunny where you are, Ed.
Yeah, it does. It's been like that for a while, actually.
It's always perfect.
I know.
It's always blue sky. I mean, it's amazing, really, that you managed to get Wi-Fi signal sat in that garden.
That is true.
In front of King's College. Awesome. Ed, welcome to Youth Connect. Our intro question for the day is, what would be the best day ever for you?
Yeah, good question. I think my best day ever, bit cliche, but has to involve the family or close friends. It's got to be good weather as well, and it's got to have good food too. Ideally pizza, I think, is pretty optimum for my best day ever. And I'm a country boy at heart as well, so maybe a walk in the countryside, camping trip maybe, something like that. That for me is ideal.
That sounds pretty perfect. Any particular pizza topping that would make your best day ever?
I'm afraid I'm a bit of a boring guy. You know, I just like cheese and a bit of ham, and that's it. I know.
Hey, that's acceptable. That's not boring. I think cheese and ham is up there.
At least it's not pineapple. Yeah.
Controversial. Okay. we've been talking about the ending story. As you know, Ed, for you, what is the best thing about the ending story that the Bible tells us?
Yeah, I think for me, when we're looking at Revelation 21 last week, what really the bit that stood out for me a lot when we were going through that is when it talks about wiping away every tear and there being no more death, no more suffering. I was just reflecting on with my small group then actually about how so much of stuff that we pray about is just a reflection of how broken this world is, and all of that is through the pain and the suffering and sin, and actually just the magnitude of the new creation, the fact that all of that stuff would be gone, I think is just a reflection of how amazing the new creation will be.
That's so, I love that perspective. Like we won't have to make those prayer requests every week.
Exactly. Yeah. I just thought that like blew my mind. It's like, wow, yeah.
That is so cool. I've never thought about it like that before, actually. That's really cool. All right, and the third question: what difference does it make for you today to think about that? To think about the new creation that you get to be part of?
Yeah, I think for me it's maybe on like a similar theme. I think. I guess ultimately the foundation of the hope that we as Christians have, that I think makes Christians so distinctive, like in this current world, is grounded in the reality of the world to come, and grounded in the new creation. I think otherwise it wouldn't make any sense to have the hope that we do, and the fact that in the new creation, that there won't be any suffering or any pain that we have in this world. It means that the pain and suffering we have in this world is temporary, and it means that the death that we have in this world is temporary as well. It's not the end, and I think that allows that hope that we have in this world to be a blessing for us as we live our lives now in light of the world to come.
That's so cool. It's like it changes the way that we experience suffering and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it changes the fact that we suffer or changes how like horrid death is and stuff like that. Like fundamentally, that experience, but actually it changes how we view that in the wider context. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ed. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Enjoy the song.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, Josie.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good. We've had some internet issues, but we're here. We've landed. This is exciting. Well, as you know, Josie, we've been talking about the ending story of the Bible. What is the best thing about what the Bible has to say about the ending story?
I think the best thing is the promise is kind of twofold. The promise of no more grief and pain and suffering, and also the promise of, I think there's a bit where John says that the old order of things will pass away. And I think that's really wonderful because it's, we can look at the world as Christians and it can be really hard to see all of the suffering and the injustice and things that just don't get better, no matter how much society is progressing. The world is still fallen and people are still messy and sinful and hurt each other. But the Bible promises that in the new creation, those things just won't exist anymore. They won't be a part of the new world. And I think it's really hard to get our head around that because it's so far from the reality that we live in now. But I think the promise of just the way things are being stripped away and it being completely made new is just, so exciting and so good to hold on to in those times when the world seems kind of overwhelming and scary.
Yeah, that is so cool. I love that. The new order that we have to look forward to. That is awesome. And what difference does it make for you today to think about that and to think about the new creation that we get to be part of after we die?
For me, the thing that makes the difference is understanding I used to think that it was kind of, oh, it will just be a brand new world that God will sort of bring in. But when I understood that it's actually this world that we have now that's being made new, I think that's then much more powerful to me, because like it reflects God's character and the fact that he's a creator. He didn't just make one world and then he's going to make another one. Like, it's a continual thing. Like, he's always creating and making things new. And also, Matt, I can talk about the space. Like, it also, I think, it proves how much he keeps his promises, because after the flood, God promised that he would never destroy the earth and start from scratch again. And he even keeps that promise at the end of the world. Like, the fact that it's not a brand new thing he's just bringing in. Like, he chooses to remake and redeem the world that he's already created. That's just amazing. And I think that just shows how much he loves to redeem things and make broken things beautiful again, because he delights to do that. Like, he loves to do that. He loves to make things new. And if he promises that he can do that for the whole world, then, you know, he promises that he can do that in our own hearts as well. And it's you know, silly for me to doubt that he could do that for like little me when he can do it for the whole world.
That is so cool. I love that. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Like, what it teaches us about God, the fact that he's going to restore us teaches us about him, and I love what you were saying about how if he can do it with the entire universe, then he can definitely do it in me and in our lives, to start building that kingdom of heaven on earth right now. That is really cool. Oh, thank you, Josie. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Josie. We're going to jump on Zoom now in our small groups, and we're going to ask each other similar questions. What is the best thing about the ending story that the Bible tells us for you? And what difference does it make to your life now to think about it? Maybe it's got to do with what we were talking about earlier about the rewards, and knowing that the tiny seeds that we sow now for Jesus, we'll see the full fruit of them on that day when we rise with him. Maybe it's got to do with knowing that if God can do that to the entire world, if he can transform that, then he can definitely transform me and answer my prayers now. Maybe it's about knowing hope, wherever it is. What difference does it make to our lives today to know what is coming? That's all from us now. Don't forget to join us next week for our summer party on Zoom. There will be a Youth Connect video next week as well. We're going to be hearing from some of our Year 13s and our leaders who are leaving about what God's been up to in their lives. We're just going to have a celebration next week. It's going to be awesome. See you there. Have a wonderful week. Lots of love. Bye.